When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ledlow, and enjoy today's episode. Folks, I'm with Daniel Weil. He's joined us from Israel and just kind of give us a lowdown on what's happening in Israel. And we kind of made this happen pretty quick. We figured Daniel thought this was a good time to probably share what's happening there. But Daniel wanted to also talk about executive protection, what to expect in executive protection in Israel if you're coming into the country, his thoughts on that. If you're a chief security officer conducting operations in Israel, what to expect with your EP team and stuff like that. Daniel, thanks for scratching out some time. I know you're on duty, obviously. And thanks for joining the show and just kind of hopping on here so suddenly.
Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure being here. And I thought that it's important enough, to come on the podcast and share some, experience with the guys. A lot of people asking us about things that are happening here, and it's not clear, because of media pulling to their side. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. And thank you, Mark.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and unfortunately, under harsh circumstances for Israel, but we know you guys are constantly battling. They're always sending. I mean, them sending rockets is always happening. But what happened on October 7th was, pretty severe, obviously, and that's why we're in the situation now. You guys are all military has been activated. I know you want to discuss about EP, executive protection as well. What is your advice to executive protection teams coming in Israel trying to conduct operations? This is probably a bad time to do anything like that right now, right?
Yeah, I think what I want to discuss a little bit about what can be done for corporates that still needs to send people. So you have, corporates and companies that support the military and they need to be here, although, most of the expats and companies, they pulled out in the first week. I think we as a company, we extracted hundreds of people out through Jordan or Egypt or airport, whatever was available. But you still have corporates that have employees here, like local employees or expats that needs to be here because they, have technology that's related to military or, so yeah, I thought generally, just give an overview of what happening in Israel. What are the challenges for us as EP companies? Because we were all overwhelmed from the situation. On the first week, requests and a lot of things that happened.
So folks, if you're listening into, obviously you can tell Daniel's in military attire. And he's actually at a location, not going to disclose where that location is, obviously due to OPSEC issues. But he's currently at a base. You can see the bed back there. So he's, in the military, obviously. And he's, protecting, what they got to do is protect their people over there. And he's willing to jump on the podcast to share with us what's happening on the ground in Israel as EP is considered, corporate chief security officers. And you can probably explain a little bit too what the military is doing without going into too much detail. They don't want to divulge that information. Hey, Daniel.
Yeah. So generally, the situation is escalating. It's going back and forth. The main concern or the main thing that we're the states as well is looking at is not Hamas-Israel conflict. That's not it's something that we're quite used to. Is if that gonna spread to regional conflict. So like we see now with Yemen, and we see Russia tweeting and China and Lebanon obviously, and you can never know what will go next. Although we do have peace treatment with some of the countries, but you can never know what will happen when something bigger will happen. But so that's what currently people are looking at. And of course, the people that are still the Israelis that are still in Gaza, they were kidnapped to Gaza. That's one of the major think that here, like internally, think people wants to see what's, results and, but all in all, everyone is united. Everyone is understand that it's something different, and we need to activate and to act hard. So that generally what happening in Israel after October 7th. On October 7th, and for the first week, it was like everyone was overwhelmed. There were literally hundreds of requests for evacuations from the country. Every expat that was here evacuated. We had tourists, employees. You have people that are, like European or US citizens, but lives here in Israel. And everyone just left in a very, very short period of time, 5 to 7 days. I think most of the people were out already. And as the challenges for us as EP company is first, I think the main challenge is manpower. Most of the guys go to service. We're, at least in our field, most of the people are special forces, ex-special forces, and they're summoned on the same day or a couple of days after. And there are literally no people to operate. So most of the operators, what we found ourselves like with our ops manager going to reserves and our CPOs and agents and guys. Luckily, we have also, we have the company also has an office in Dubai. So that helped us to maintain a little bit from the back office side. And I was summoned after a couple of days. So that's also hard. But that's the main, and I think a lot of clients were not ours, but generally a lot of companies or people that they were suddenly faced no one on the other end of the, like if they have a security, there are a lot of security companies that are one or two, two-man companies that just, on the day to day. And when that happens, people just, close the business and go to the military. And that's, I think at least that's a good advantage for having, something a little bit more wider. But so imagine that's like the point of time that everyone needs you, but it's very hard to support. And for us also, it was like, normally I'm very, very, service-like and very polite, but was, just overwhelmed. Just what you need, yes, no, that's what we can do. Tell us if you want or not. No time for games, because we needed to extract people, and we couldn't handle with the what you're used to,
right?
All those questions, if to be, So generally, it was very, very, very intense week. And then you also, of course, another challenge is the airport closing, shutting down and opening and shutting down and opening. And, that's the first SOP of most companies. Just go to the airport and fly. But, in this sure. sort of conflict, it doesn't work. And you can't just drive to the airport because, you need to know when to drive and you need to monitor what's happening. In order not to find yourself in the middle of rocket attacks on the way to the airport. So it's, I wrote for AP Wire an article, I think on the last conflict about some of those challenges, during the conflict, what can be done. So that's generally what we're facing. I was thinking, and I saw the companies that were ready in advance for those and built SOPs and had teams already on the ground for them, regardless to the conflict, just because that's a very sensitive zone. They really had a big advantage on the other companies that just, waiting for something to happen and then react, like insurance and that's, I think, that's one of the key things when you think about what can be done during a conflict is exactly that. It's just, if you operate here, it doesn't matter if it's here or an area that is very, that can, as things can escalate very fast, like in Israel, you need to be ready in advance, not to start and dealing with the situation when it's already here, because then, serious resources are out or, are not available. People are not available. And it's much harder to get support when that's happening.
You're in the middle of you're in the middle of a war right now. And if you're going to have an EP team come to Israel right now, all resources are probably deployed. Those who are veterans, IDF veterans, they have to go activate again to go help fight the front line. And what I've heard, 300,000 or something like that number. That was like a week ago on the news, but I don't know what that number is. I have no idea.
Yeah, so you need to understand that in Israel, first, it's a small country, so that's like a big part of the population. And then, obviously in the security industry, all the guys are going like that. Those are exactly the guys that you want to support private sector when when something happens. Those are the guys that go first.
Yeah,
their
front lines. Yep.
Exactly.
So that you're going to be tapped out of resources. If you come in your country, say, hey, we got a team. Well, the guys that used to support you guys are now deployed on the front lines, or they're doing whatever. They're still MOS, as we call it in the military, and they're deployed. Sorry, we can't support you. That's just the reality.
That's the reality. And also, so luckily we managed to support, many existing clients were always, first priority because they're existing client, but we did really our best to help other companies or other people that want to extract from the country, even if it was required us to, just help them find the right support for them, even not through our company. Like I said, luckily we had the support from the Dubai office, and the way that we went, the core team or the core management of SES, we just, some guys went first leg, the other guys went second leg, and that's we managed to support at least the majority of clients. Another thing is that normally in EP, it's a very service oriented business, like I said, and but the privileges that you normally have, like, no, I want the same CPO on the team for the entire task. It doesn't happen. He's there, and then after 2 days, he needs to go to the, to join his unit or to go to the front line, and you need to always change. It's important to manage expectations. I think expectations with client, but I think it's people understand. People understand that that's the situation, but they still expect us to get the same things that they are getting in routine. But those are all privileges. You just you need to be happy that your company, doesn't matter if it's us or other company, managed to bring you the support that you need. That's crucial. That's not it's really hard and very challenging to do so.
What is your recommendation to the chief security officers that may be listening to the podcast of your advice of them? Should they just wait to do business in Israel until things kind of cooling off over there with everything going on? Or because I know everybody's just glued to the TV right now. Everybody's watching Fox, CNN, and everybody's reporting. The problem is we're not getting really true factual news reporting. They're reporting the worst of the worst. And then you guys on the front line. So I have a hunch that we're not getting the true facts.
Yeah, so obviously, that's always the case that you don't get a full picture from the media. But I think that, I won't recommend just to come here, even to the region, not to take countries around us. It's not really a threat unless it will become something regional, which, we saw in the wars in Israel, 48, 70, 67, 73, we're not just Israel against one country. It was always 3, 4, 5 countries all together. And that's the main concern. That's why I personally, if you don't need to be here, don't come, just wait all, especially for corporates. But if you do need to operate, like I said, thing that, that can be done. We're doing obviously reporters and then media, that crews that comes here. And, so you manage to do it if you know what you're doing, and you have the right intelligence, and you monitoring what's happening. So it's possible to operate if you need to. I wouldn't, just send, if you can wait a couple of weeks to see what's happening in the region, just do so. And I mean, not, like I said, not only Israel or West Bank, I mean, countries around us. It's better to hold a little bit and then, see what's happening.
Great advice. If you don't need to be there, don't be there. What is the morale like with the troops out there in Israel? How are you guys doing mentally and emotionally right now?
I think that the troops are in high morale. Everyone wants to go in. Everyone wants to, to make, those animals pay for what they did, and most of all, just, like, make it disappear. So as much as you can, just, it's not something that you can go back to your routine. Yeah, we had another escalation in the south or in the north. No, this needs to be stopped. And I think most of what's happening. So the guys are united. The troops are very in high morale. Everyone wants to go in. They want, like, we're operating in different areas, and people just want more and more and more. And we don't think too much about, going back home to our work. We're here to finish the job. That's from the troops, from very high morale. When you go back home, or when you speak with home, I think, it's, obviously the morale is lower, because, most of the families and most of us are in the military, and work is not as usual. People are home. We haven't had schools for a while, for 2-3 weeks now, and it's not easy. It's not easy for the front to manage it. But when my wife asked me, and she said it's hard and it's difficult for her, I just listen. It's bigger than us.
Yeah, true.
I'm 40. It's not that I'm enjoying to running, and with my helmet and go run and not seeing my kids, but it's bigger than us. It's something that needs to be done. And there's no place here for, for privileges, yeah, I know it's hard, but everyone is in the same boat.
Yeah, I've seen some cool videos on social media of you guys dancing, singing some songs, and I think that was probably before the deployment, but everybody's in really good spirit singing and singing Hebrew stuff. And I'm like, whoa, that is, I was blown away by the spirit of everybody.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And we did have this spirit, but you never, you need to have something big happenings for it to go out. So I never had a doubt that, that the military has the guys have motivation and to keep on doing their military service, but you need to have something big as this conflict or war to see it outside. And I think since October 7th, this is probably the first time that Israel is in the media. It's outside, like they're showing. Normally we're stuck in media, like you can have people killed and stuff, and then something small happen in the other side, and they know how to reflect it very good, unlike us, that we just keep doing our job. And I think that's a word that is super important and something that you need to be done. And I think in this time we are doing a good job, and that's why you can see those things that you didn't see in the past.
Yeah, I think you guys have rose above the negativity, and you're doing something for the good of the human race by doing, like you said earlier, this is not against Hamas and Hezbollah. That's all political driven media stuff. Like you said, the facts are, you got Iran, you got China, and you got Russia who are feeding into this ideology in the media, and the media is just grabbing it and just spinning it out of control. And now it makes more perfect sense. It's not, that's what the media propagates it, but you're on the ground. Is that, hey, this is for freedom for our country. This is freedom to live freely, and this is the price we have to pay to get that back.
Absolutely. And, although like I'm from Tel Aviv, and you don't feel it too much, like let's say for the last couple of years, you don't feel it. Like if you live in Tel Aviv, you will only see rockets and alarms and sirens if we have a round or something is escalating. But the guys in the south, those guys that were slaughtered and those settlements around Gaza, they're experienced that for years. It's like, it's like a routine for them, and that's unacceptable. Those are government things, obviously. Mm-hmm. But that's their day to day, and that's got to be stopped. And people look at us and they say, yeah, why do you bomb in Gaza? It's not proportional. It's all, it's all, to be honest, it's all bullshit. I will say to every country, well, what would happen if you get rockets to your capital or to your cities from another country? What will you do?
You're going to react.
You will just, you're going to go and you're going to fight. And we saw it along the history, but it feels a little bit strange a little bit, what they're saying when it becomes that it's related to Israel. And luckily we have a lot of support from you guys, from the States and from the veterans, and we love you guys. And I think I personally get a lot of support from everyone and from friends, people that I barely know from LinkedIn, and it's really good. And that's what I hear also from my guys, and it's unbelievable. And it's important, it's important for us to know that we are not alone in this war.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the media is just pushing this thing out of control more than what it really is. What's your thoughts on how the media is handling all this? Are they helping matters or making it worse? What's your thoughts?
Obviously, the media, like always, they show what they want to show, and they choose the side, and then they go around that. So for me, when October 7th happened, and you could see those crazy pictures, kids, babies murdered and slaughtered, and I saw the media and the countries around the world that they're very supportive of us. But for me, it was very I said, that's gonna change in 2-3 weeks when we start operating in Gaza. I knew, and that's what's happening. Now we can see that the media going back to their regular, I say a lot of foreign media, going back to their track to focus on what Israel is doing wrong to the other side. I think at least that's what I feel, and that's what I see. And I won't mention names, obviously, because a lot of them are our clients as well. But
right,
and it's not what I want to achieve. It's just that's what it is. It's what always happen. And what is interesting is that Israeli media is also terrible in that they are always doing the same thing. They, instead of being with the military and with the front and with the people, they just showing things to make everyone scared, because that sells, right? And that's what they're doing. And it's conflict. At least I feel that it's not as it used to be. They're very supportive of what's happening, what we're doing. They're not, trying to show, the bad sides of war, which is, obviously you have bad sides of war. And I think the Israeli media is taking a step back on that, and they're trying to be more supportive and more show, like you see, they show what's the real face of Israel. And that's something that we haven't had for many years now.
Yeah, I think you said something a key, Daniel. Israel really hasn't been in the news in a long time. It's all been Ukraine or China, or it's been the U.S. border, Mexico border, or Trump. It's been one of those three things. Israel just has not been in the news at all. And all of a sudden now you guys are the focus center of the world once again. And now they have to have a story to talk about.
Yeah. I think, obviously Ukraine was much bigger than what we have here, but we always in the news, and, even if it's in the regional news or
Right.
always seems like Israel is the problem of the Middle East, which is ridiculous. But
Right.
but obviously, it's always when it's escalated to this level is then when all eyes are here in the Middle East.
So this has become more. It's becoming more. What do you think is, from your perspective, become, like you said, becoming a regional issue versus just an Israel issue?
Absolutely, it can definitely go for something much bigger than what we're experiencing now. To be honest, you can't really know what's going to happen.
Do you think that was the goal of the terrorists, to do that and make that happen? Is that their propaganda game? Is that kind of their chess game? Is what they play?
I think Hamas aimed to have a lot of fronts for Israel, like from what they're doing from the north with the Hezbollah. And I think they hope to have more protests and more things going on from the West Bank and from the Israeli Arabs that are Israeli citizens. I think they were surprised to see that it didn't happen. And again, I think that was the change of mentality. So for us, when we normally are very, we're very in this progressive or humanitarian approach that, no, don't do that. They're not only protesting. It's okay for them being next to the fence, like it was in Gaza. And that's how they managed to enter, because it was okay suddenly to be next to the fence and throw, put bombs on the fence. So I think what is happening with the other fronts that they didn't expect is that we have zero tolerance. We still remain human, but we have zero tolerance for games. Like if you want to lift your head and you want to do troubles now when we are in this situation, you're gonna pay for that. And that's what normally is. That's what's happening now. And I think a lot of in the West Bank. So my unit is operating a lot of in the West Bank. So I think they were surprised that even we get intelligence. That they know that it's not like they feel it's not the same before. The tolerance is lower. If you used to be able to go, throw, Molotovs on vehicles and, zero tolerance now. And I think that's what keeps the West Bank quiet. As for the Arab Israelis, I think they're part of them. So they will always be, a lot of them are with Palestinians and Gaza. But I think a lot of them understand that that's what's not like, they took it to another level. And actually there are a couple of Arab citizens were kidnapped into Gaza as well.
Wow. They don't talk about that.
Yeah. And they, the Hamas is shooting rockets regardless to where it hits. Yeah, of course they will try Tel Aviv and other big cities, but they also shoot to villages and it's also hit, a couple of days ago, we had a couple of rockets hitting the West Bank.
Right.
Refugees camps. So yeah, I think we will see. I think when the goals of the IDF is to go in and eliminate Hamas. And I think in order to do that, you will need to engage much more than what we're seeing now. And we will see when that happens, how those fronts will react. And we'll see how ready we are for that. I think there is a lot of work. I think politicians didn't do good work for it's not from this cadention or another. I think for many, many years, trying to keep peace. But in order to do that, to ignore things of those red lights. And I think there's a lot of things to fix and change. And I hope, that's bigger than us, but I hope they will be able to change it and fix it.